Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Quakes Exclusive. Coming up on today's show, we're going to break down the team's 0-0 draw with Toronto FC last weekend. We'll have an exclusive interview with goalkeeper JT Marcinkowski, and we'll explain how the Quakes can break down the Houston Dynamo in their match coming up on Saturday. Welcome into Studio 74 at PayPal Park. Alongside the former Earthquakes midfielder Chris Dangerfield, World Cup reporter Carlos Yustis, I'm Kylen Mills. The San Jose Earthquakes played Toronto FC to a tough scoreless draw right here at PayPal Park. The Quakes did create some chances, they just couldn't quite convert. Danger, what were your biggest takeaways from this game?
Well, with both teams missing a lot of key players, I thought it became a little bit of a tactical battle. Experienced coach Bob Bradley came in and set up his Toronto team to get a point here at PayPal Park, in my opinion. They clogged things well defensively in the center. On the other side, Luchi Gonzalez put his best attacking 11 out there in an interesting 4-4-2 formation. Cade was pushed a lot higher. Obobisi had some space underneath. I thought individually, Paul Marie did a fantastic job on Benedeschi. I also thought Baldissimo won some good tackles in the midfield area. And it was an interesting setup for us because he had the best 11 players on the field. It was a little bit of a slugging game in there. There were chances created by the Earthquakes. They just didn't take one of them.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that it felt like an incomplete game if you want to see it that way, because it was really solid defensively. Something that the Quakes have been really good at home. But then at the same time, they haven't been able to put away those chances. And it is true that the fact that you're missing so many players does impact the way you play. But on the other side, you were having the same thing. So you had to take advantage of those things. And they did have some chances that were, in my opinion, at least scoreable from that perspective. Some balls that went onto the post, some wide open shots of dead ball situations, and we just haven't been able to put it away. So when you want to keep transcending, when you want to take that spot on the playoffs, you have to be able to put them away when you're at home and you have these chances.
To your point about the Quakes finishing, the San Jose Earthquakes are top 5 in the MLS in shots, corner kicks, and passes connected in the attacking third. That shows that they're doing everything right in the build-up to create the chances, exploiting dangerous spaces. They're just not quite finishing. Let's go back and take a look at one of those plays in the 5th minute. What happened, Danger?
Well, the Quakes did create the best chances. They were the only team that looked like they wanted to try and win the game as the game went on. But chances sometimes come early in the games as well. This particular chance to Benji Kokanovic was a wonderful play in the midfield area by Cal. He was able to turn and create space for himself. He found the dangerous Chris Espinosa. The timing of the run on the outside by Carlos Acapo is first class. It's an early ball into the far post area. Benji Kokanovic is there. He gets a good touch on the ball, can't quite turn it into goal. I think Benji's positioning there is a little bit off. If he's wider, he can attack the ball, and he's got a better angle on trying to finish that one. But that was an early chance. They created chances all through the game, even to the last kick of the game with Tommy Thompson. So a good effort by the Quakes, just not able to get the winning goal.
A scoreless draw. One thing that was working for the Quakes in this game was defense. Their defense has looked really good, and it starts with goalkeeper JT Marcinkowski once again earning the start. I sat down with him to talk about his start to the season. JT, thanks so much for joining me. You made 2 saves to help your team get the shutout against Toronto. What's been working so well for your defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a great collective effort from the entire team. It's not just the back line, it's not just myself. I think it's all 11 guys. It's the guys coming into the match that are just following the game plan. I think the coaches do a great job of scouting each opponent, their weaknesses, but also their strengths, and kind of how we can hurt them defending, but also the best way to defend is when you have the ball. So that's kind of what we try to impose on our opponents, is our possession style of play, and keeping the ball as best we can. And when we have it, they don't.
In the 12th minute, Toronto had a counterattack opportunity. You came almost 25 yards out to make a diving header to end that play. What was your mentality in that moment?
Yeah, I think it was just make sure I get this ball at all costs. I think I probably could have communicated with Paul a little bit better and maybe could have avoided that situation, but at the end of the day, it worked out for the team. And at the end, yeah, like I said, just trying to do everything I can to make sure the ball didn't get past me.
Is that something you practice at all?
Wouldn't say we're training it on a daily basis, the diving header 25 yards out from the goal, but When the moment comes, I think you just got to be ready for it.
Speaking of the moment coming and having to be ready for it, coming into the season, you learn the team signs Daniel, another goalkeeper. You learn you aren't going to be starting, but your number was called very shortly into the season. How did you stay ready and stay focused during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think our entire union as a goalkeeper is, I think we have a really great group. Starts with Aiden, but Daniel, Emmy, myself, it's a really healthy competition. We get along really well. We root for each other. We hope for each other's successes. At the end of the day, it's the goalkeeper's responsibility, whether your name's called or not, to be ready. It can happen the first game of the year, it can happen the 20th game of the year, but when the moment comes, I think you have to be ready to shine in that opportunity. And at the end of the day, that's what I try to do by my training habits, coming into each session, focusing on something, and just going from there.
You mentioned a name that I want to talk about, your goalkeeper coach, Aiden Brown, coming in his first season working with this group. And he's also a Bay Area native who you have some particular connections with. How has your relationship with him developed?
Yeah, I've known Aiden for a few years now. We met when he was in Portland when I used to play with Reno. He was Portland's 2 coach. And we've kind of just had a constant communication every time I would see him when he was with Chicago. And then as soon as he was hired here, I think the messages started flowing right away. So, like you said, we both went to De La Salle in Concord, California, so we obviously have a connection that goes way back. One of my old goalkeeper coaches was his goalkeeper coach, so there's a lot of overlap and intertwining of the Bay Area community kind of within our own relationship. But I think he's a great coach. I think I'm learning a ton from him, and I'm really excited for the rest of the year and continue to grow and get better every day.
I mean, what's in the water over there at De La Salle High School? You guys are just churning out professional athletes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's something with our motto. Our motto there is actually very similar here. It's all about brotherhood, and I think it's something that if you're a man for others, then good things come.
Well, you mentioned the brotherhood going on within this team. A season ago, no secret, there were some defensive struggles going on. This season, a huge improvement. What has been the overall message with this defensive unit, and how has the back line been able to really connect and start to put together some of these shutouts?
I mean, I think it's like I said earlier, it's not just the back line, it's not just the goalkeeper. I think it's the entire team, it's our structure, it's our defensive shape, it's how we press, it's how we get 11 guys behind the ball, it's how we recover centrally. I think there's these main principles and main ideas that the coaches have instilled in us from day one of preseason. It's the first thing we talked about. It's no secret that we let in a lot of goals in the prior years, and that's a huge area of focus for myself, for the entire team. Is I think if you're keeping, shutouts, if we're keeping it to 1 goal a game, it gives our attackers a huge boost to know that they don't have to score 3 goals just for us to win.
Your 4th consecutive start coming up against the Houston Dynamo. What does it mean to you when you put on that San Jose jersey and get to step out there representing your hometown or home area? Yeah,
it means the world. I think it's something I definitely don't take for granted. Talking to some old friends who've played in the league before, and they were like, it's the coolest thing in the world that you get to play in front of your hometown every single week. And I feel that. I feel it when I hear my name called and the crowd cheers. I feel it when I get to see my family and my girlfriend in the stands. It's an amazing kind of sense of I get to look back and see people who I used to play with when I was 8 and 9 in the crowd, and shake their hand after the game, and them to tell me how proud they are of myself is, it's a huge honor, and it's something I don't take lightly.
Awesome. Very cool. JT Marcinkowski, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
JT will look to continue that strong play this weekend. He will earn his 4th consecutive start in goal for the San Jose Earthquakes. The Quakes take on Houston Dynamo right here at PayPal Park coming up on Saturday night. It's going to be a fun showdown. Interesting, these two teams have very similar profiles, play possession-style soccer. They're both working under brand new head coaches, and the Quakes have to look to continue that defensive success. How do they do that, Carlos?
Well, just keep on doing what you're doing, right? It's a very old saying, but it's true. Like your championships are built with defense, and that's something that the Earthquakes had not been good last year, and they've been really good this year, especially at home. They're coming into their 3rd game without conceding a goal at home. It's actually a streak of 253 minutes where they have not conceded a goal at home, the last one coming in that game against Vancouver. But I feel that the balance that Jonathan Mensah has brought to this defense is just impeccable, and it allows you to have other players shine there, like Rodriguez, that can actually step up. But both center backs have built this defense putting them in a position where they can compete and they can also let the forwards take care of what they have to do. And hopefully that's a basis to get the 3 points on this game.
I would agree with you, Kylen. It is a team that is rebuilding under new coach Ben Olsen. Similar to the Earthquakes in some respects, they've had quite a few coaches over the last few years. It's definitely a team that seems to do better at home. They've struggled on the road, but they will also have some star players coming in now in this new rebuild, especially Hector Herrera. The Earthquakes should have Carlos Guerezo available. They should have Jamiro Montero, who's coming back from international duty. So they should be at full strength. And so I would imagine the Earthquakes are trying to make sure they get the 3 points at home.
It's a dangerous point about the Dynamo adding some key pieces in the offseason. In addition to bringing back some key pieces, who do the Earthquakes need to be aware of on this roster?
I mean, obviously, Hector Herrera will be the main key, but you also need to take care of Amin Bassi. He's a new French player. He just came into the league. He's had a splash in the 2 games that he has started, scoring both times from the penalty spot, but he's a really dynamic player. And he complements very well with a Mexican that, even though came late last year and didn't have an immediate impact as a DP player for the Houston Dynamo, he's picked it up this year. And it's a player that brings a lot of experience, playing Champions League, playing a lot of World Cups, being able also to be the leader of that. I mean, I did had a chance to talk to him during MLS Media Day this season, and he was talking about that challenge of being the face of the Houston Dynamo. It's a player that it's very creative, is very strong, has a really good mid-range shot, and he already scored once and assisted this season. So it's the leader of this team. That's what they brought him for. And what better way to have it than with a DP player like that?
It's going to be a tough challenge. To wrap up today's show, let's talk about one Earthquakes player who fans should watch and is going to be key in this game. Danger, who is the player to watch?
Yeah, for me it's Jeremy Ebobisse, because the Quakes have been shut out in the last 2 games and he hasn't scored in the last 3 Quakes games. And he is the main goal-scoring threat for the Earthquakes. He led the team last season with 17 goals. He started this season on fire. I believe that he will get the service from Christian Espinosa and the fullbacks pushing forward at home at PayPal Park. So it's very important for Jeremy himself and also for the Quakes for Ebobisse to start scoring goals again.
I will go with Jamiro Monteiro. I think the fact that he's been missing the past 2 games also reflects on why the scores have been the way they are. And it's going to be a really important part of it because he brings that balance both in the attack to create those chances and be able to put all your teammates in scoring positions, but also on defense, because he has to take on that role of making sure that when Hector Herrera is moving around the field, he can come and close that gap and don't let him come inside. So having Monteiro back is key for the Quakes today.
My player to watch is center back Rodriguez. In addition to his huge play defensively, he is a threat in the attack because of his ability to bring the ball out of the back on the ground, and then also his ability in the air to win balls. At 6'2", he has a big stature. When he gets up into the box, he is a threat, and he's had a couple of really close chances. If he can finish one of those, he could potentially be the difference maker for the Earthquakes in this match. Quakes face off with Houston Dynamo coming up on Saturday night right here at PayPal Park. 7:30 p.m. Pacific time is kickoff, and if you can't be here in person, be sure to watch the game right here on Apple TV's MLS Season Pass. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Quakes Exclusive. We'll see you next time.